I want to take time to talk about some of the issues in music, specifically in relation to what we find in lyrics that's going on right now, and why I've decided to go forward with my movement, Neo Soul Poetry, and why I've decided to put this album out with a lot of lyrical content in contrast to what's currently available. Because we come from, me myself, come from a hip-hop generation, born at the very end of the late 60s, early 70s, raised in hip-hop, connected to soul music, rhythm and blues, you know what I'm saying, birthed off of the love for what we call old school music, you know, Isley Brothers, you know, Earth, Wind and Fire, Frankie Beverly and Mays, you know, Marvin Gaye, you know, being raised up listening to this, you know what I'm saying, as a youngster, you know, and loving the vibe and the feel of it, and then being a spoken word poet and combining spoken word poetry with the music of soul music, you know, with the rhythms of soul music and jazz and R&B and, you know, and blues and funk, you know, combining these elements together. But what we have today is the proliferation of musical lyrics that have what we would say total lack of substance, meaning that a lot of what's being said in music, whether it's R&B or hip-hop, it's a bunch of gibberish, you know, and that's not to say that everyone that is putting out music is just saying a bunch of gibberish, but there's a loss right now in the world for good music, good quality, substantive music. Like, people originally used music to express, you know, to express how they felt. You know, the joy, the love, the peace, the happiness, the struggle, the pain, the passion. They use music to express all of these various things. And I guess what we find today is that music today, the expression inside music today, you know what I'm saying, the misogyny with respect to women, what we call the promotion, and industries even promote these things, music industries, you know, record labels, you know, big record labels even promote this stuff. Just the stereotypical imagery of buffoonery of what we would call some nigga stuff, you know what I'm saying, some straight up real hood ghetto stuff, you know what I'm saying. Unfortunately, to use that terminology and that verbiage, but this is what it is, and this is what's being promoted nowadays. You know, all we're talking about is jewelry, fast cars, women, dope, you know, being harder than the next cat, being a street cat, being a thug, things of this of this form. And there's a lot of people, millions of people, that just aren't interested in this. And you got two issues in relation to this. You got the issue of those that are being raised up off of this music that reflects, that the lyrics reflects their mind state. It reflects the culture they're being raised in. And our youth today is some disenfranchised youth, totally despondent youth, have little or no connection whatsoever to anything positive, really. You know what I mean? A lot of our youth really don't got nothing positive to look forward to in life. And this is the reason why we have such disparity amongst our youth today, and which is one of the reasons why I work with at-risk youth as a mentor. But then you have the second issue of the fact that even though that's the case, that our youth are expressing the despondency within our community through their lyrics, which reflects a lot of demented thinking, because our culture is so demented right now. We're so lost for culture, for spirituality, for knowledge, for substance. We're at a total loss for it. So the flip side of that is that we have all these thousands and millions of people like myself that's birthed in hip-hop. You know what I mean? I mean, that's raised on hip-hop. Like my generation I come from, we created hip-hop. You know what I mean? Even though it has its musical origins in the Bronx, New York, in itself, the generation that was born in the late 60s, born in the early 70s, it is our generation, our sustainable culture that gave platform for hip-hop to emerge and then to spread and be sustained. Because had it not been for the fact that all of the various things that were transpiring in New York that gave birth to hip-hop, had those same elements not existed in other parts of America, such as Detroit, such as Atlanta, such as LA, you know, such as Houston, such as Atlanta, you know, such as Philly, such as New Jersey, various other places, you know. Had these things not existed that was in similarity to what was going on in New York, then hip-hop never would have been able to sustain itself. It never would have found another platform and avenue to sustain itself. So then we have the flip side of that, as I was saying, people like myself raised in this generation that can't even vibe with rap music. We ain't interested in rap music today, you know. I mean, you know, we got a lot of respect and love for individuals, for artists that's out there doing what they doing because they're participating in a culture that we was raised within. But we can't identify with it because we look at it as though there's no substance to the lyrics of it. You know what I mean? You can't find anyone that's rapping, you know what I mean, or even a lot of new R&B, up and coming R&B singers that are fused in hip hop. Because a lot of R&B cats is hip hop cats. They just happen to sing. We understand that through Jodeci, you know what I'm saying, Mary J, you know what I mean, and then a lot of these various other new people out today, Trey Songz, Usher, etc., etc. So then we have a lot of people such as myself, like I said, that, you know, we can't identify with this and connect to this, and so we're at a loss nowadays, and we're not even interested in rap music anymore, you know. And so hip hop is at a critical low right now, and this movement that I got going on, neo soul poetry, you know, neo soul poetry is going to be a rebirth, a renaissance of hip hop, you know, of neo soul. Because what I'm going to do is, and what people like me, I'm not the only one doing this music. I'm just happen to be the one right now that you're viewing, that's giving discussion to it, that's giving a platform to it, but it's underground and it's slowly emerging. My point is this, I want to make this real clear. Neo soul poetry in this movement right now is going to be the rebirth of hip hop and the rebirth and sustaining of neo soul. And I ain't even talking about neo soul in relation to Jill Scott, Erykah Badu, because they're doing a fabulous job at maintaining this level of conscious music, of soul music. What I'm talking about is the connection between soul music and hip hop, which has not been properly connected. You know what I'm saying? Because hip hop is one of the elements of soul music. And people forget that it's a child of soul music. People forget that. People forget the origins of hip hop, how the origins of hip hop tie back in through, for example, Jamaica. You know what I'm saying? Through reggae, through jazz. Comes out of storytelling out of Africa. There's so many tie-ins, so many things that make up the elements of hip hop that we're not even educated on. This is the reason why we're going to be educating you with this neo soul movement. So neo soul poetry is going to give shape and definition and throwbackness to a certain extent, if I can use that word, throwbackness to an age and era in golden hip hop, in which hip hop was about substance and quality, with good music, good meaning, good lyrics. You see what I'm saying? So I'm honored, really, you know what I'm saying, to be a part of this movement, you know, to have so many people accept this music, and for them to, you know, for them to accept it, because it's something that's apparently new to a lot of people. You know, I ask people this question all the time, like, you ever heard anything like that before? And the immediate question and answer is no, never heard anything like it before. Now, if you ain't never heard anything like neo soul poetry, and neo soul poetry in itself isn't anything new, we might have just given it a little definition and tweaked the definition of it because we're connecting all the various elements involved. But if you haven't heard anything like neo soul poetry, then that goes to show you how far we've gotten away from hip hop. Because neo soul poetry is in itself a throwbackness to hip hop, but at the same time, it's a throwbackness to hip hop in an era in which hip hop and soul music, which hip hop emerged out of soul music, was intricately connected, in which they're no longer connected. So this is going to be a real serious movement. That's why it's called a neo soul poetry movement. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a retro movement. It's taking you back to the origins of hip hop, back to the message of the Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. You know, back to the very essence and core, you know, of the lost poets, for example. You know, and Amiri Baraka, you know, and Maya Angelou, you know, and people like that who are neo soul poets. These are people whose nature, whose words come out of the neo soulness within themselves that we all have, and then it's connected through spoken words to music. neo soul poetry. It's a beautiful thing, man. I hope you enjoy this movement we got going on. Log on to the website, log on to my Facebook, Hakim Crampton. Till then, it's all love. Peace.